How are you?
Morning, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Oh, good. I've just been thinking. I'm really enjoying doing these Crux Casts with people like you and the other good people that we've had on. I just wish they were under better circumstances. But it's up to us to just march on and do the best we can in current situations, right?
Yeah.
So Shona, you're the partner and owner of H&R Insurance Services. Do you want to just tell us a wee bit about what you do and what you specialise in?
Yeah, so we are an independent insurance broker based in Aberdeen. We've got two offices, one in Blackburn and one in Elgin. And we provide insurance solutions for predominantly the SME market for businesses, but also for personal people as well. So we can do private car, household, employers liability, public liability. We cover all manner of trades and businesses. So yeah, pretty much everything fits our bag, really.
Absolutely. So I'm guessing it's not been a particularly easy time for you the last few months.
No. I would say it's last couple of months have been really challenging for our industry and also for our clients as well. Obviously, coronavirus is having a big impact on our clients, and I don't think there's not one that's been unaffected by the coronavirus. And I guess what they're looking towards for us is their insurance policies. So in a time like this, they come to their insurance policy and we're getting asked all sorts of questions as, do they have cover for the coronavirus, which is probably the main question that we're being asked.
Absolutely. And I guess just like everyone, there are business owners out there, thousands of them who are maybe thinking, it's okay, guys, we're covered. We've got a business interruption clause in our policy that we pay for through our premiums. We're going to be okay. What's the inside track on that?
Yes, so that's the bit where it all starts to become quite difficult. Effectively, coronavirus is not covered under most policies that we've got. So the main insurers, for instance, Aviva, AXA, Zurich, have all come out and said that their policies don't cover for coronavirus. I don't think it was helpful either. The government, Nicola Sturgeon, stood up and announced that insurance companies just had to step up to the plate and do their bit, but there was actually never cover there in the first place. And I think there was a little bit of misconception that went out from the government to effectively say to the insurance industry, not making a scapegoats, but just saying, come on, you need to do your bit. And I think that was quite unfair. So we got inundated with a lot of calls. I think clients potentially thought that there was cover there and the insurance industry were just being difficult. I mean, that was not the case at all. It comes down to the fundamentals of how insurance is arranged. So when you look at it really simplistically, insurance is a pot. So everyone, mutually similar people put money into the pot so that the premiums of the many can then help out the few that have issues or have losses. And that's the fundamentals of how insurance works. Now, when you take a pandemic like this, it's quite clear to see that the insurance industry just could not pay for absolutely every business interruption claim that there is going on at the moment. It's just not possible, and that's why there is no cover for events such as this.
So, average Joe company sitting there now, maybe furloughed their employees, maybe made employees redundant, certainly reduced headcount to some degree, revenues down. I'm not saying for everyone, but for a huge majority, revenues down, profits are down, insurance not there to help. There must be something that these companies can do, these business owners can do. There must be some sort of avenue for them to go to get some support.
There is the government loans that there are. So they've got the coronavirus business interruption loan, so they can go down that avenue. And I believe that that's being accessed through banks, and it's up to the bank to effectively provide that support. Now, I have spoken to our own bank just to see how the mechanisms of this are working so that we can try and help our clients. And our own bank are effectively extending an overdraft until all the fine detail is ironed out, because even the banks don't exactly know the fundamentals of how this is all working. So they're struggling as much as everyone else to figure out, well, what's expected of us, how do we provide these loans to the customers, what security have we got over it. So as far as our own bank is concerned, it looks like they are providing an overdraft until they figure out what on earth is how it's all going to work.
But I guess those the option of going for a loan might not suit everyone. You might not have the forecast or the horizon to even work out, how am I going to pay this back? It might not suit everyone.
No, that's right. And it is really difficult. It's really tricky. And ideally, I would love it if we could turn around and say, you've got a claim and you're covered. But unfortunately, it's just not the case. And it's heartbreaking to have to deliver that news, and it's heartbreaking for our clients as well. It's really difficult.
Yeah, of course. Now, it's not just, yes, okay, there's the business, but there's individual elements of businesses. There's building protection, there's fleet protection, there's all of these. What sort of experiences are your clients having with insurance on things like fleet, property, things like that?
Yeah, so that's a bit more positive, I have to say. So I think the insurance industry certainly recognise that they need to help out, because ultimately we need to make sure that clients can maintain themselves throughout this really difficult period. So they're being quite flexible. So for example, if you've got an unoccupied office, which there are a lot of at the moment, they're extending unoccupancy terms from what would normally be standard 30 days. They're extending that between 60 and 90 days, but again, it just depends on the particular insurer involved. So that means that you have got your full level of cover for up to 90 days, which is great. They do still ask that you need to maintain your property, so it needs to be checked once a week, both internally and externally. Things like removing waste as well is really important, so just making sure that you're not leaving any waste piled up inside or outside the office. In fact, interestingly, because our office is empty, we did all our checks, we shut the office down, turned all the utilities off, and then we came back, so we're checking it actually daily, because I've got an employee that lives in Blackburn, and we found that someone's dumped a whole load of rubbish in our bins. So because all the skips are shut, they've got nowhere else to go with this stuff, so they've put it in our bins. Also, we've got a joyrider as well, who's cutting up our grass. So they've obviously know that the estate is completely empty now, so they're going down with a car for whatever reason, driving over our grass and completely churning it up. So these checks are really important to make sure that properties are still being maintained and looked after. And I would say that, if you get stopped going to check your property, I would say that this is an essential task that needs to be done, because it's your livelihood that depends on it. And if you're not doing these tasks, you certainly don't want to be in a situation where an insurer was like, well, you didn't check it. So yeah, it's essential that these checks are being done.
Yeah, agreed. Now, looking at the very darkest side of the scale, if a business owner is unfortunate enough to have to wrap up the business, loses the business, goes into sort of bankruptcy terms, whatever that might be, I've seen some dialogue in the press about the concept of that individual then going again for insurance and maybe finding difficulty getting insurance because he had a business that was affected. What's the buzz around your industry about that?
Yeah, so that is an issue, because as soon as you have been a director or in charge of a company which has failed or gone into liquidation, that becomes a material fact, and you need to disclose that to the insurance industry and to your broker. In the past, what's happened was, as soon as you disclose that fact, I think the traditional insurance industry kind of shuts down and effectively says, well, I'm not sure I want to insure this business. But what I'm hoping is that after this is all over and done and dusted, that the insurance industry will look at potentially the coronavirus, and if that's the reason for a company that's gone out of business, to look at it a bit more favourably and to not give the client really harsh terms and expensive premiums as a result of it. But that's something that we need to work with the insurance industry when this is all over, and when companies are starting to start back up again, with these director histories, that we need to make sure that the insurers are looking properly and treating customers fairly with this regard, because it's just not it's just not a normal situation that we're in. It's you cannot, no business would have planned for this, and we don't know when it's going to end. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. No one can probably guarantee that their business is 100% safe. So for the insurance industry to then penalise potentially that person when they do get back on their feet, I think it's going to be very difficult. But as a broker, that's what we have to fight for our clients for, just to make sure that that doesn't happen, and campaign with our, with our governing bodies to say, look, this is really unfair and we need to do something about it. But hopefully it won't come to that, and insurers will be reasonable when it does come, because they are being reasonable in this event. We were talking about unoccupied buildings, but also as well fleets. They are coming to us. So ERS have come out and said, well, we're happy if you've got clients with a large fleet, that we can lay them up and reduce cover on them. And that's going to have significant savings for clients. So they are being reasonable. Our taxi drivers, for example, we've got an awful lot of the individual taxi drivers in Aberdeen, which we insure, and quite quickly they started coming to us saying, what can we do? We've got our insurance premiums, we've got zero work. And the insurer, we had a really constructive conference call with the insurer, and we got everything on our wish list. So we managed to reduce cover. We're slashing premiums in half, reducing interest rates. So the industry is doing their bit to try and help, but just not the business interruption bit.
Yeah, but it sounds like what you've just said needed to be pushed by you and other people. It wasn't forthcoming. It needed to be pushed and challenged a little bit. So I guess the advice would be push it and challenge it. Yeah,
to a certain point. I mean, insurers, they can be quite tricky at times. And it's a case of just getting the right message and being persuasive if it can be, but then also realistic that actually if you're asking for something which is too great for the insurer, then you can only take it so far. So it's just gauging at what point do you say, right, okay, I've pushed this too far. This is a higher level now. So there's a few things. For example, what happens to are we ever going to be able to get insurance for pandemics in the future? And that's something that needs to be led by the Association of British Insurers and BIBA, which are the equivalent body for brokers. And these businesses are already taking that message and saying, how do we cover pandemics in the future? And what's coming out of that is, effectively the UK insurance market is the largest in Europe, and it's, I think, the fourth largest in the world. And insurers are saying if they were to cover pandemics in the future without any government support or state backing, that the amount of capacity they would have to actually hold to cover the risks would just be so astronomical that no one would be able to afford the cover. So it's not a case of business interruption insurance of insurers just going, well, we don't want to do it. It would be far too expensive for clients to actually provide it without actually some kind of state backing. And that's what that's what our industry have got to do now, is they've got to liaise with the government to get some form of state cover for pandemics like this in the future. And that's the only way we can realistically cover this risk properly. We already do it for terrorism with Pool Re, and we already do it for floods, which is Flood Re. So these are all state-backed insurance policies that will pay out in the event of a massive terrorist attack or all the flooding. I mean, the flooding is devastating as well, which goes on. So it is already done, and it does already exist, but probably not on the scale to what pandemic insurance would look like.
Okay. So for most companies that don't have to physically be in premises to do work, for most companies, they've sent all their employees home, which is fine. Everyone is posting on LinkedIn and posting on social media of their little home offices and all of that. I guess a question that I had for you was, from a layman's perspective, does the typical business insurance policy that you have for you've got an office with 30 or 40 people in it and they all work there. Now they're all working from home in their bedrooms and from their breakfast bars. Does your insurance policy absolutely cover you for them working there? And are they covered? Is your business covered?
Yeah, so again, insurers have been really realistic about this. They know that employees are now working from home. Take our office, for example, 100% of my staff are now working from home. It's a situation that we've never had before. So the employer's liability insurance, it just carries on. So insurers are aware that that is happening. What you have to make sure, you've still got a duty of care for your employees that are at home. So their health and well-being, the fact that you need to check that they're well set up. You need to make sure that they're comfortable, that their desk is appropriate for what they're doing, that their seat is, they've got the right IT equipment. So as long as you document all of that, and you're absolutely fine, because you still, as I say, you still have a duty of care, and as long as you don't fail in that duty of care, then your insurance policy is absolutely paying out if something happens. IT equipment as well. So that's another aspect that a lot of companies. So, for instance, again, my staff have taken all their IT kit home because we didn't have enough laptops. But again, our insurer is aware that now all of our IT kit has gone from being in 2 locations to scattered throughout the northeast of Scotland, and they're happy with that. So my insurance is still covering all of my IT equipment, even though it's out remote at individual houses. So that's nice to know that my kit is covered, but also that my staff don't need to worry about insuring the kit or notifying their home insurers either. Okay. And again, that's another point, home insurance. So their own personal home insurers, as long as you're doing a clerical role, then home insurers as well that employees have is absolutely fine as well. So they've all come out pretty much and said, we're aware that there are people working from home, and that we're quite happy with it, providing it's a clerical role and providing that they've got no one coming and going from their house. But then we're not meant to be with people anyway, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Exactly. One of the things that caught me the other day was, which is very much linked to what you were just talking about, the world's becoming more digital.
Yeah.
It's not just a trendy phrase, it's an actual living thing that digitization, cloud-based working is becoming absolutely huge. I read a little stat the other day that rocked me. I had to read it twice. It was from the National Cybersecurity Centre in the United Kingdom, saying that 1 in 2 UK SMEs, 1 in 2, will fall victim to and lose capital through a cybersecurity attack.
Yeah.
So this blew me away. 50% of UK SMEs will lose capital through a cybersecurity attack. That's the prediction from historic and looking into the future. Cybersecurity, it's a huge issue. Does traditional, typical insurance, business insurance, cover you for all of this? Is it easy?
So you can buy a cyber policy. So there are policies out there, varying degrees to the cover that they give, but the most important area that needs to cover is the actual cybercrime element of it.
Right.
That's where the majority of these hacks are being made and successful. So it can be as simple as a virus gets into your system and they just lie dormant for a while and just monitor and see what's going on. They learn about the trends of people, and then they strike whilst iron's hot. Once they've got enough information, they strike, and they'll maybe do invoice fraud, for example, pretend to be somebody, interact with an invoice, and then tell the client, if you've just sent an invoice out, oh, my bank account details have changed, can you please update it and pay into this bank account instead? We are unfortunately seeing more and more cyber claims. In fact, before coronavirus came to the fore, it was probably the biggest thing that we were actually dealing with as a brokerage.
Wow.
The amount that we were seeing it just terrifies me a little bit that businesses aren't taking cyber seriously enough. It does come up in our renewal conversations, but I think clients they either don't understand exactly what the threat is, or they just think that because they've got a professional IT firm involved, or they outsource everything to the cloud, that everything is safe. And that is just not the case. So your IT firm will not be liable if you have a cyber attack. It's not their fault. Also, cloud computing. So I'm in that camp as well. So we've just moved to Office to our emails to 365. Mm-hmm. And when I start actually reading about the vulnerabilities, and then people keep telling me actually that it's more risky being up there than it was on our little server in our office, it does terrify me a little bit. Cyber, when it happens, a cyber attack, when it happens to an organization, is devastating, absolutely devastating. And it's, I think, a feeling that you are completely out of control, out of your depth. I know if we had a cyber attack in our office, I wouldn't know what to do other than phone my IT company and then go, oh. And that's what companies are doing. But there is insurance for that help. So ultimately, you get your own IT company in if you have an event. They can be there for maybe 48 hours rolling non-stop to try and halt the attack, try and figure out what's going on. But what the cyber policy will provide you with, or provide your own IT company with, is that expert help, that helpline. It also pays as well if you have been defrauded out of an invoice, for example. It will pay that money back, and that's the cybercrime element of it. I would say not all cyber policies are equal. And as well, it's great that you can have this cyber policy to protect your business, but you can't then just kind of ignore, it's not a tick box exercise of, right, I've got an IT firm and I've got a cyber policy, that's me, I'm completely covered, I've mitigated all my risks and I'm happy. It's not as simple as that. You do have obligations, and there are things that need to be done in order for that cyber policy to pay out. For example, your virus protection software has to be up to date. Your firewalls have to be up to date and maintained. And you need to do some training with your staff as well, because that's the human element is where the mistakes happen. It's when the attackers are in at the human side, especially with coronavirus. I think there's a lot of hacking attempts being done off the back of coronavirus because the fraudsters are drilling down on the weakness, and the weakness at the moment is coronavirus. So people are just hungry for information about the coronavirus and could potentially click on a link that takes them somewhere that lets a virus in, which is really worrying.
So I guess the takeaways from this are, at the top of the session, we spoke about business interruption. I guess the takeaway is keep close with your insurance broker or provider and talk through options with them. There are possibilities about loans to cover and things like that. On the cybersecurity thing, which I guess extends to all of us now, because we're all involved in some sort of cyber. We're in a cyber meeting right now. Is if you're not covered, get covered. If you are covered, make sure you're complying with all of the elements that you're supposed to, and keep a tight watch on all of this. Do you see any positives for insurance coming out of all of this? Is this once we speak about a V-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery, whether that's fat or thin or long or short? Do you see any sort of positives coming out of this? Do you think insurance is going to change, for instance?
So as an industry, I think we're going to have a lot of bridge building to do. As a broker, I can see that. I can completely see that, because I just feel like we have let our clients down. Although the cover wasn't there for them to purchase, I'm just so disappointed that something like this has happened, and it could potentially have such a massive effect on our clients. So yeah, I would hope that something comes out of this. I would hope that we can get a state-backed pandemic level of cover, so that if anything like this happened again, the whole country would have cover for it. I mean, what the government is doing is really unprecedented, with the amount that, I mean, I can't even imagine what the wage bill is going to be in April when all these employees all start claiming, this 80%. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, and I don't even think the government know how much the final bill is going to come to, at the end of all this. I think we, just as an industry, we've got bridge building to do, and I think we just need to treat customers really fairly going forward. We just need to make sure that we can do all we can to help out in these challenging times, and our hands may be tied at certain points, but we're feeling it with them, because we are not immune as a broker. Our industry is not immune. I mean, we are busy at the moment, drastically decreasing our business, but I can't furlough any staff because we are so busy, dealing with this crisis. So it's going to be a really tricky time for everybody, and I think businesses just need to be fair on each other and make sure that we're all treating each other well. And if we're due money, and if we're due to pay invoices, then we need to honour that. And
agreed.
Best we can.
Absolutely. How can people get in touch with you, Shona?
Yes, so all our phone lines and our phone system all works as normal. So all of our publicised phone numbers and email addresses on our website, which is www.hrinsurance.co.uk. All the contact details are on there. And yeah, so it's fairly straightforward to get in touch with us. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, so people want to reach out to me via LinkedIn or just send me an email. I'm quite happy to take these responses.
Good stuff. Listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I hope things get better for you and all of your clients.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.